Good afternoon, my name is Eugene Bryce from Bryce Energy Services. I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about carbon offsets, a new service that Bryce Energy Services are offering to our clients. So I'll plow into this. What is a carbon offset? So two statements here. Carbon offset, an action intended to compensate for the emission of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere as a result of industrial or other human activity, especially when quantified and traded as part of a commercial scheme. Alternatively, a carbon offset broadly refers to a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions or an increase in carbon storage, i.e. through restoration or the planting of trees. So very basically, a carbon offset is a payment you make or an action you take which results in reduced carbon emissions. For most businesses, it is paying for a project where trees are planted or solar panels. So what types of projects are considered carbon offsets? So here we have the traditional and possibly better understood tree planting or tree conservation, solar panels, renewable energy efficiency. This is what they call a rocket stove, so a more efficient method of cooking and heating for developing nations. And also clean water, clean supply to, again, developing nations, or not necessarily, that improves quality of life and water cleanliness. So these would form packages of projects. Now, in order to ensure that any money spent, particularly on remote projects, is well spent and actually delivers the promised offset of emissions, there are two key standards. There are a number of others, but Bryce Energy Services would only deal with these two standards: the verified carbon standard and the gold standard. Links to both of these organizations are on my website under carbon offsets. So what would a portfolio of carbon offsets look like? So imagine you had 600 tons of CO2. How would that, or may that, be allocated? So you could have 150 tons invested in UK tree planting, 250 tons invested in a renewable energy project, 150 tons invested in energy efficiency, i.e. the provision of these rocket stoves to developing nations, and finally 50 tons invested in clean water projects. The mixture of projects is solely down to individual businesses and their sustainability objectives. Of course, you can have a general mix across all four types, or your business may be particularly focused, for example, on renewable energy and energy efficiency. So you may feel you would want to allocate or offset your 600 tons more directly with those such projects. The other thing to notice here is that the cost per ton can vary, and that variance is generally associated with the cost of the project itself and also the location of the project. Carbon offsetting projects, for example, in European countries, tend to be more expensive than carbon offsetting in developing nations. So here we've allocated our portfolio of 600 tons, and that came out to actually a very round number of £20,000. So 600 tons offset cost £20,000, and that is per annum. You would need to do this each year. So the way these values are set up are based on an annual cost. So these projects would budget that over their lifetime they would sell their carbon offsets again next year. And of course you're free to buy from the same project year after year, providing there's nobody else has bought them ahead of you. So, portfolio of carbon offsets. In order to engage with this process, visit our website for carbon offsets, enter the number of tons you require, and if you have any preference for a type of project or no preference. And what we'll do is, based on your tonnage, come up with a proposal divided among tree planting and energy efficiency in order to meet your tonnage and budget requirements. And that way you can offset those emissions that you can't readily offset at the moment, or carbon emissions from a much longer term reduction plan, but in the near term you wish to be carbon neutral. Just note that offsets are not allowed under the scientific Science-Based Target Initiative, but they are allowed under other schemes. So, just a short run through on carbon offset. If you would like to contact us, feel free to visit our website or drop us an email at info@briceenergyservices.com. Alternatively, you can follow, subscribe to us on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter. We actually have a number of training videos on YouTube, well worth a look. So thank you very much. If you're interested in creating a carbon offset portfolio, do get in touch and we'll be delighted to help. Thank you very much.